Imagine stepping into a fancy restaurant only to be kicked out for your skin. Meet Lena Brooks, a black woman denied a meal by a racist manager who called her trash. But what he didn't know? She's a secret millionaire with a plan to flip the tables. Literally. In hours, she turns humiliation into a jaw-dropping comeback you won't believe. Who's she really? How'd she win? Smash that like button if you're ready for justice. Hit subscribe to catch this epic twist. Dive in. The sun hung high over Atlanta's Buckhead district, its golden blaze glinting off the sleek glass walls of the ivory table, a crown jewel among the city's elite haunts. Inside, luxury shimmered. White tablecloths gleamed like fresh snow under crystal chandeliers, their warm glow dancing on polished marble floors, while the faint scent of truffle oil and aged wine wafted through the air, a whisper of wealth few could touch. Lena Brooks pushed through the heavy oak doors, her worn sneakers scuffing the pristine tiles, her faded gray hoodie a defiant shadow against the sea of tailored suits and silk dresses swirling around her. At 38, she carried a quiet fire. Her dark skin glistened with a sheen of sweat from the Georgia heat. Her tight curls yanked into a simple bun, but her eyes burned with a strength honed by years of grit, a flame few could see beneath her unassuming shell. She stepped up to the host stand, clutching a crumpled reservation slip, her voice steady and sharp as a blade. "Table for Brooks, party of two." The maitre d', a wiry man with a pinched face, glanced at her paper, then raked his eyes over her. Hoodie, sneakers, no purse, his lips curling into a sneer that stung like a slap across her cheek. "Sorry, miss," he said, his tone cold and sharp, dripping with disdain. "We're fully booked. No walk-ins today." Lena's brow furrowed, her fingers tightening on the slip. He didn't even look. "I booked this yesterday," she said, her voice firm, slicing through his lie like a hot knife through butter. "Check it again." He didn't budge. Instead, Richard Baxter, manager in a crisp white shirt, sandy hair slicked back, strode over, his blue eyes narrowing as he sized her up like dirt tracked onto his pristine floor. "No reservation here," he snapped, his voice echoing loud enough for nearby tables to turn, forks pausing midair, eyes glinting with curiosity. "We don't serve your kind. Take your hustle somewhere else, you sweetheart." The room hushed. Crystal clinked softly. A woman in pearls whispered, "Who let her in?" A man in a navy suit chuckled, low and mocking, his cufflinks flashing as he raised a glass. Lena's chest tightened, rage simmering beneath her calm. "Your kind?" The words a jagged shard ripping open old wounds, her mother's voice echoing. "They kicked me out for sitting down, baby. Don't let 'em break you." "I'm a paying customer," Lena said, sharp as steel, pulling out her phone, the confirmation email glowing on the screen like a beacon of truth. "Check it. Brooks, 1 p.m. Baxter's laugh was cold, cutting through the humid air like a winter wind. "Paying? You. Look at yourself. Get out before I call security." He waved a hand, sharp and dismissive, and two burly guards in black loomed forward, their boots thudding on the marble like a drum roll of humiliation, their shadows stretching long and menacing across the floor. Lena stepped back, her fists clenching. "They'll pay for this," she thought, her mind a furnace stoking itself against their scorn, her pulse pounding like a war drum in her ears. "Fine," she said, her voice low, sharp as a blade honed by years of defiance, her eyes locking onto Baxter with a promise colder than ice. "You'll see me again, sooner than you think." The guards grabbed her arms, their grip iron as they shoved her toward the door. Her sneakers squeaked a defiant protest against the marble, the laughter of the rich rippling behind her like venom seeping into a wound. She stumbled onto the sidewalk, Atlanta's heat crashing over her like a wave, the city's skyline towering above, Buckhead's glass spires a cold, glittering wall against the South Side's gritty bones. Her phone buzzed in her pocket, a text from an unknown number glaring up at her. "Stay out or you'll pay the price." Lena's breath caught, her heart slamming against her ribs. "They're scared," she thought, sharp and cold, her fingers trembling as she clutched the device, the Georgia sun beating down like a spotlight on her resolve. She straightened, her whisper fierce against the city's hum. You don't know who you're messing with, but you're about to find out. She'd come for a meal. Now she'd take the whole damn place apart, and they'd choke on their own lies. She tapped her phone sharp. Tasha, it's go time. Check our plan. Outside, Atlanta's pulse thrummed. Cars purred past, their engines a soft roar against the distant wail of a siren. Inside Lena, a fire roared. She'd make them regret this day. Lena Brooks stood rooted to the cracked sidewalk outside the ivory table. Atlanta's midday sun blazing down, its heat a mirror to the inferno raging in her chest. Buckhead's polished streets stretched around her, boutiques with gleaming windows, luxury sedans purring past like sleek cats. But her faded hoodie and scuffed sneakers marked her as an intruder, a shadow cast against the district's golden glow. Her fists clenched tight, the sting of Baxter's sneer. Your kind. Burning like a brand seared into her skin, the guard's shove still echoing in the ache of her arms. She'd grown up 16 miles south, in East Atlanta's rough embrace, row houses sagging under neglect, their brick facades stained with time, the air thick with exhaust and the faint tang of fried chicken drifting from corner stalls. Her mother, Clara Brooks, had raised her there alone, hands cracked and bleeding from scrubbing floors at the ivory table for pennies, 16-hour shifts on her knees, polishing marble for white folks who sneered at her faded apron and tired eyes. They fired me for sitting down once, Clara had whispered on her deathbed 5 years back, her voice a frail thread woven with defiance, her dark eyes glinting with a fire Lena swore to carry. Don't let 'em break you, baby. Promise me. That vow had forged her. Every late night hunched over a borrowed laptop, every catering gig scratched from nothing, building Brooks Foods into a $1 million empire that fed Atlanta's elite. Her name a hushed legend among the rich, her face a secret she kept beneath this simple shell. She'd turned pain into power, her mother's shame into strength, yet today that shame roared back. Baxter's words a dagger plunging into wounds Clara had carried to her grave. She'd booked that table for a meeting with a supplier, a step to plant her flag in Buckhead's gilded soil, to sit where Clara never could, to honor a promise with every bite she'd planned to take. The ivory table stood as a monument, white wealth built on black labor, its marble floors polished by her mother's blood, its doors barred to her skin then and now. Baxter's sneer wasn't just an insult, it was a war cry, and Lena was ready to answer. Her phone buzzed again. Stay out, or you're finished. The text glaring up like a taunt, her pulse quickening as she stared at it. They're scared of something, she thought, sharp and cold, her mind racing. They know I'm close. She dialed Tasha, her assistant, her rock, her voice sharp as a blade cutting through the humid air. Tasha, it's me. They kicked me out of the ivory table. Called me trash, shoved me out. Check our plan now. Tasha's voice crackled, steady and fierce. What? Those bastards, give me details. Baxter, manager, white shirt, blue eyes, Lena said, her tone steel, her breath hitching as rage flared anew. Said we don't serve your kind. Guards dragged me. Text came right after. Stay out, or I'm done. They're hiding dirt. I feel it. Got it. 1 hour, Tasha said sharp, then hung up, the line dead with a promise of action. Lena paced the sidewalk, Atlanta's heat pressing against her like a second skin, the distant hum of luxury cars a mocking chorus to her fury. She glanced back at the restaurant's glass doors. Baxter's silhouette loomed inside, barking at a waiter, his crisp shirt a shield of arrogance, his sandy hair catching the chandelier's glow. You'll choke on that smirk, she thought, cold and fierce, her fingers tightening around her phone, a weapon she'd wield sharper than any blade. Back at her South Side apartment, a modest brick box masking her wealth, the air smelled of coffee and crayons. Lila's latest drawing, Mommy the Boss, pinned to the fridge with a magnet shaped like a heart. Darius paced the worn linoleum, his broad frame tense, his mechanic's hands clenched as he caught her trembling stance. Lena, what's wrong? You look like a storm's brewing. She tossed her phone on the table, the reservation email and text glaring up like twin accusations. Stay out or you're finished. They kicked me out, called me your kind, she said sharp, her voice quivering with a fury she couldn't cage, her hands balling into fists. Text came right after. They're hiding something, Darius. I know it. His brown eyes darkened, his voice low and rough. Damn fools, let it go, babe. Lila needs you safe, not fighting some rich jerk. Lila peeked from her room, small and curious in her pigtails. Mommy, why you mad? Lena knelt, pulling her close. Her daughter's warmth steadied her shaking hands, her whisper fierce against the soft scent of her hair. Mommy's fighting the bad guys, baby. They won't win this time. She stood sharp, meeting Darius's gaze. I'm not stopping. Not after Mom took their crap for years. Not after they laughed me out. Darius grabbed her arm, sharp and urgent. You're poking a bear. What if they come here, huh? What if they hurt us? Then they'll meet me, she said, her tone steel tempered by fire, her eyes glinting with a resolve that cut through the dim light. They hurt Mom. They don't get to hurt us too. I'm ending this. For her, for Lila, for every black soul they've stepped on. She snatched her phone, sharp. Tasha's digging. I need Jamal too. We're cracking this wide open. Lena, Darius started, sharp, but she cut him off. It's war, Darius, and I'm winning it. Atlanta's skyline pulsed outside, Buckhead's towers cold against the Southside's grit. A city split by wealth and skin. Lena's war had begun, and she'd burn their arrogance to ash. Lena Brooks sat at her kitchen table, Atlanta's dusk creeping through the cracked blinds of her Southside apartment, casting jagged shadows across the worn linoleum. A battlefield of coffee stains and Lila's crayon scribbles. Her phone glowed, Tasha's voice crackling over speaker like a lifeline piercing the humid quiet. Lena, I've got it. The ivory table's bleeding cash. Overdue loans. Cooked books. They're 2 weeks from folding. Lena's pulse quickened, sharp and fierce. Desperate means weak. Baxter's hiding it, she said, her voice steel, cutting through the soft hum of a distant siren wailing outside. That's why he's scared. Keep digging. Already on it, Tasha said sharp, her tone steady as a drumbeat. Jamal's hacking their system. Give him 30 minutes. Lena nodded sharp. Jamal, her old friend from East Atlanta, a wiry tech genius who'd turned street smarts into code, was her ace. She paced, her sneakers scuffing the floor. The text, stay out or you're finished, burning in her mind like a coal stoking her rage. They're scared because I'm close, she thought, cold and precise, her fingers tightening around the phone. A weapon she'd wield to slice their lies apart. Darius watched from the couch, his broad shoulders tense, his mechanic's hands clenched. Lena, you're stirring a hornet's nest. What if they hit back? Then we hit harder, she said sharp, her eyes glinting with a fire that dared him to argue. Tasha, Jamal, we're cracking this tonight. The clock ticked, each second a drum roll. Lena's mind raced, sharp as a blade. Baxter's desperate, means he's sloppy. 30 minutes later, her phone buzzed. Jamal's voice burst through, low and quick. Lena, I'm in. The ivory table's toast. Loans defaulted. Baxter's been skimming tips to cover. Place is a house of cards. Her breath caught, sharp, skimming tips. He's a thief, she said, her tone ice cutting through the humid air. Proof? Emails. Baxter to some rich guy, taking bribes to keep undesirables out, Jamal said sharp. And get this, they're selling tomorrow, cheap, to a big chain. Lena's heart slammed, a grin breaking cold and fierce. Selling tomorrow? They're weak. Perfect. She'd built Brooks Foods into a catering empire worth millions. Her name whispered among Atlanta's elite, her face a secret beneath this hoodie. A secret she'd wielded to buy failing businesses before. Tasha, she said sharp, call our lawyer. Tell him to draft the buyout offer now. We're taking it. Lena, you sure? Tasha asked sharp, her voice steady but edged with caution. That's millions. I've got it, Lena said sharp, her tone steel tempered by years of clawing from nothing. We've been waiting for a chance like this. Baxter's handing it to us. Darius stood sharp. You're crazy buying that place? What if they fight? They won't, she said sharp, her eyes locking onto his with a fire that burned through doubt. They're broke. Baxter's finished. I'm ending this tonight. Calling him out where he stands. Jamal chimed. Got more. Baxter's emails prove he's been skimming for months. Cops could nab him for fraud. Lena's grin widened, sharp and cold. Got you. Jamal, send it all. USB's ready? Done, he said sharp. You're loaded. Go get 'em. She grabbed her keys sharp. Tasha, lawyer. Jamal, USB, meet me there in an hour. We're crashing the ivory table. They'll see me eat their pride. Darius grabbed her arm sharp and urgent. Lena, this ain't safe. What if They've lost, she cut in, sharp, pulling free, her voice a vow forged in fire. They hurt Mom. They don't get to hurt me, too. I'm taking it. For her. For us. She snatched her hoodie sharp, storming out. Atlanta's skyline loomed. Buckhead's towers a cold challenge she'd shatter. Her war was now, and she'd win it with a single sharp strike. Lena Brooks stood outside the ivory table, Atlanta's dusk draping Buckhead in a bruised purple glow, the restaurant's glass facade glinting like a fragile crown under the fading sun. Her sneakers gripped the cracked sidewalk, her faded hoodie swaying in the warm breeze, a stark shadow against the polished streets where luxury cars purred past, their engines a soft hum mocking her presence. Inside, the chandeliers cast golden light over white tablecloths, the clink of fine china, a distant melody. She could see Baxter through the glass, his crisp white shirt a shield of arrogance, barking at a waiter with that same sneer he'd thrown her way hours ago. Her phone buzzed. Tasha's voice sharp. Lawyers got the offer. Buyout's ready, cash wired. You sure about this? Dead sure, Lena said sharp, her tone steel cutting through the humid air. They're broke. I'm taking it tonight. Jamal's car screeched up, his wiry frame leaping out, USB clutched tight. Emails loaded, Baxter's fraud, bribes, all here. You're set to burn 'em. Lena's pulse thundered, sharp and fierce. He's mine. Let's go, she said, sharp, storming toward the oak doors, Tasha and Jamal flanking her like soldiers in a war she'd waged alone too long. She pushed through, the bell jangling a sharp note that sliced the restaurant's hum. Heads turned, forks paused, the same pearl-clad woman from before, whispering, Her again? Baxter spun, his blue eyes narrowing, his sneer curling sharp. You? Back to beg? I told you. Get out. Lena stepped forward, sharp, her voice low, cutting like a blade through the room's hush. I'm not here to beg. I'm here to buy. His laugh barked, sharp and cold. Buy. Look at you. Trash doesn't own a thing here. The room rippled, chuckles from suits, gasps from waiters. But Lena's grin broke, cold and fierce, a predator baring teeth. You don't know me, she said sharp, pulling her phone. Sharp fingers tapping. Jamal handed her the USB, its black plastic gleaming like a loaded gun. But you will. She nodded to Tasha, sharp, and her assistant dialed, speaker crackling. Mr. Hayes offers in. Confirm, a gruff voice boomed. Brooks Foods. Cash buyout. The ivory table. 10 million. Done. Papers signed. The room froze. Baxter's sneer faltered, his face draining white, sharp confusion twisting his features. What? Brooks Foods? You're... Me, Lena said sharp, her voice steel as she stepped closer, her eyes locking onto his with a fire that burned through his arrogance. Lena Brooks, CEO, Brooks Foods. I've fed your rich friends for years, catered your weddings, your galas, and you didn't even know. His jaw dropped, sharp. Trash, he stammered, his voice a ragged thread unraveling fast. You're nobody. Nobody. Lena laughed, sharp and cold. Nobody. She plugged the USB into Jamal's laptop, sharp fingers flying, live stream lighting up X, thousands watching in seconds. You're the nobody now, Baxter, caught skimming tips, taking bribes to keep my kind out. Your house of cards just fell. The screen flared. Emails glowed. Baxter to a rival chain. $50,000 to block blacks from VIP. Keep it white. Gasps rippled. Suits shifted. Pearls clutched. Waiters froze. Baxter lunged sharp. Lies. You can't prove. Too late, Lena cut in, sharp, her voice a whip cracking through his panic. I bought this place. Right now. Right here. You're done. His eyes widened, sharp and wild. You can't. But Tasha stepped up, sharp, papers in hand. Signed. Brooks Foods owns the ivory table. Congratulations, Lena. Lena's grin was ice, sharp, unyielding. You judged me. Now I judge you. You're fired. Get out. The air in the ivory table crackled, Atlanta's dusk seeping through the glass walls as Lena Brooks stood center stage, her faded hoodie a defiant banner amidst the white tablecloths and crystal gleam. Baxter staggered back, his crisp shirt wilting under sweat, his sandy hair falling loose as his blue eyes darted, wild, trapped, his sneer replaced by a mask of panic. The live stream glowed on Jamal's laptop, X buzzing, thousands watching, comments flooding. She's owning him. Take him down. The room's hush shattered by the sharp clink of a dropped fork, a gasp from the pearl-clad woman now clutching her glass like a lifeline. You're fired, Lena repeated sharp, her voice steel cutting through the thick air, her eyes locking onto Baxter's with a fire that burned brighter than the chandeliers above. Pack your crap. Leave my restaurant. Baxter's laugh was ragged, sharp, and desperate. Your restaurant? You're insane. This is mine. I've run this place for years. He lunged for the laptop, sharp fingers clawing. Jamal yanked it back, sharp. Too late, man. World's watching. Lena stepped closer, sharp, her voice a whip cracking through his bluster. Years? You mean years of stealing, skimming tips from waiters, pocketing bribes to keep my kind out? She tapped the screen, sharp, emails flared, $50,000 from Regal Chains, block blacks from VIP, keep it white. The room erupted, suits gasped, waiters froze, a man in a navy suit spat, disgusting. Baxter's face drained white, sharp panic twisting his features. Lies, he roared, his voice breaking like glass under pressure. You can't prove. Prove, Lena cut in, sharp, her grin cold and fierce as she held up the USB, small, black, a loaded gun in her hand. This proves everything. Your fraud, your bribes. Atlanta PD's already got it. She nodded to Tasha, sharp, and her assistant dialed, sharp voice steady. Detective Harris, evidence sent. Move in. The room spun. Baxter's eyes widened, sharp and wild. You're bluffing. You're nothing. But the oak doors burst open, sharp. Two cops in blue stormed in, boots thudding on marble, cuffs glinting like justice's teeth. Richard Baxter, one barked, sharp. You're under arrest. Fraud, bribery, theft. No! Baxter shrieked, sharp, lunging back. Chairs crashed, a glass shattered, his crisp shirt tearing as he flailed. The cops grabbed him, sharp. Cuffs snapped, his wrists twisting as they dragged him toward the door, his voice a ragged howl. She's lying. She's nobody. Lena laughed, sharp and cold. Nobody? She stepped forward, sharp, her voice ringing over the chaos. I'm Lena Brooks, Brooks Foods. I've fed this city, your weddings, your parties, and now I own this dump. You judge me by my skin. Now I judge you by your soul, and you're finished. The crowd erupted. Sharp claps broke like thunder. The woman in pearls stood sharp. Bravo! A waiter dropped his tray, sharp clatter, cheering. Yes, Ms. Brooks. X exploded. She owned him. Legend! Views soaring past 10,000 in seconds. Baxter's head dropped, sharp, defeat carved into his slumped shoulders as the cops hauled him out, his crisp shirt a tattered flag of surrender, his sneers lost to the roar of the room. Lena turned, sharp, facing the stunned diners. Her hoodie swayed, her sneakers firm on the marble she now ruled. This, she said, sharp, her voice a blade slicing through the air, is for my mom, for Clara Brooks, who scrubbed your floors and got spit on. For every soul you crushed, your time's up. Her eyes blazed, sharp, unyielding, tears glinting not from shame, but triumph as the crowd roared louder, hands clapping, phones flashing, a wave of awe crashing over her. Tasha stepped up, sharp, papers in hand. It's official. The ivory table's yours, boss. Jamal grinned, sharp. Live streams at 20K. Atlanta's watching. Lena's chest heaved, sharp. For Mom, she whispered, her voice breaking, fierce and raw. She'd come for a meal. Now she'd taken their empire, and they'd choke on every bite of their own scorn. The air in the ivory table settled, Atlanta's night draping Buckhead in a velvet hush, as Lena Brooks stood amid the chaos she'd wrought. White tablecloths gleamed under the chandeliers, their golden glow softer now. The marble floor hers to command. The crowd thinned, suits filing out with stunned nods. The woman in pearls whispering, "She's incredible." The live stream fading to black, X still buzzing with her victory. Owned it! Never mess with Lena Brooks! Baxter was gone, cuffs on, hauled off, his crisp shirt a crumpled memory of arrogance drowned by her fire. Lena exhaled, sharp, her hoodie swayed as she turned, her sneakers scuffing the floor she now owned, her pulse slowing from a war drum to a steady beat of triumph. Tasha grinned, sharp, papers clutched tight. You did it, boss! The ivory table's yours. What's next? Change it, Lena said, sharp, her voice steel-tempered by a warmth that she hadn't felt in hours. No more your kind. Everyone eats here now, rich or poor, black or white. She glanced at Jamal. Sharp. You good? He nodded, sharp. Best show in Atlanta. Proud of you. The oak doors creaked. Darius stepped in, Lila clinging to his hand, her pigtails bouncing, her small voice sharp. Mommy, you won? Lena knelt, sharp, pulling her close. Her daughter's warmth a balm against the day's scars. Her whisper fierce. Yeah, baby. Mommy showed him. Darius's broad frame loomed, his brown eyes glinting, sharp pride cutting through his earlier worry. You're our queen, Lena. Damn, you showed him good. He pulled her up, sharp, his mechanic's hand steady on her shoulders. Lila giggled, sharp. Mommy's the boss now. Lena laughed, sharp, real, a sound breaking free like a river after a dam burst, tears glinting in her eyes. Not shame, but victory, a weight lifting she'd carried since Clara's last breath. For Mom, she said, sharp, her voice steady, fierce. For every soul they stepped on. Days later, the ivory table buzzed anew, tables filled with Southside families, waiters in crisp aprons serving plates piled high. No sneers, no guards, just food warm and honest. Lena stood at the counter, her hoodie swapped for a blazer, her name above the door. Brooks' table, a sign painted bold, a tribute to Clara's fight. She'd hired back the staff Baxter crushed, gave them raises, breaks, respect, turned a monument of white wealth into a haven for all Atlanta's souls. Darius wrapped an arm around her, sharp, steady. Clara'd be proud, babe, you did it. Lila tugged her hand, sharp. Can we eat here every day, Mommy? Lena grinned, sharp, fierce. Every day, baby, our table now. Atlanta's skyline glowed outside. Buckhead's towers humbled by her fire, the South Side's grit rising strong. She'd walked in for a meal, walked out with an empire, proving one sharp truth. They judged my skin, but I judged their soul, and I won.